Why do companies franchise? Franchising is one way to really break into all 50 states. You're really going to be a coach. You're going to be a mentor. You're going to be looking at ways of simplifying the process to really grow your business via franchising. First one being support. The franchise needs to offer ongoing support. The second is going to be a brand. Finally, there's going to be an investment. There's going to be an initial investment.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, the show where we help corporate execs experience time and financial freedom via franchising. Thanks for joining us today. For today, we were going to talk about the history of franchising and did a little research online. There's lots of stats, lots of history. And I said, you know what, instead of going through the entire history, I'm going to post a link directly from the IFA. The blog post is called The History of Modern Franchising. Gets into a lot of dates, a lot of specifics, and really, gets into kind of, the original countries that franchising originated in, some of the larger companies, and things like that. So without getting into the entire history, I wanted to actually switch gears a little bit, and I'm changing this on the fly, and that's how we do things here on the show, and talk about why do companies franchise, because that's been a question that has come up, and said, you know what, let's make the most of the time and talk about that. So why do companies franchise? So I'd say about a year ago, I had Mark Seibert from iFranchise Group on the show, and we'll post that show on here as well. And we talked about, the different ways a business can expand. There is no right or wrong. This is really a personal, or I should say, business preference as to the expansion of the brand. And we talked about the three things that are needed in order for it to be called a franchise, right? To really grow your business via franchising. First one being support, offering not just initial support at launch, but the franchise needs to offer ongoing support. So initial support, ongoing support, obviously in exchange for whatever royalty that franchisee is going to be paying. The second is going to be a brand. There's going to be a brand behind it, like some of the bigger names that we hear, especially in the food space, like the McDonald's of the world, Chick-fil-A's and things like that. There's got to be a big brand name behind it that you'll be utilizing, or just the brands. Obviously some companies are going to be more emerging than others. And then finally, there's going to be an investment. There's going to be an initial investment, right? You're investing in a business, you're investing in a franchise, and taking over the systems and running it in your kind of geographic area or specific location. So the three things: support, brand, using the name, as well as an investment. Now, if all three are not present, if two of the three are present, it is not a franchise. So just say in the example, there may be an investment in support. That would fall along the lines of a license, where maybe you already have we'll call it a health and wellness brand, and are licensing a specific workout, a specific maybe meal plan along those lines, or maybe you're paying an ongoing licensing fee, something up front to get set up, and then an amount going forward. Maybe not necessarily the brand, but more of the food itself, the workout itself, and rebranding it under your logo and things like that. So the question comes around, well, why do companies franchise? Why don't they just license? It comes down, again, to preference, right? Being a franchisor and growing your business via a franchise is a different model than just licensing. When you're a franchise, you're in the business of essentially proving your brand and being able to replicate that brand and that system across the country, while being, that support for all those new franchisees, to get them up and running, to get them trained, best practices and things like that. So there's a lot more to it. So yes, there's an investment from the franchisee up front, and that covers a lot of the training and everything else that needed to get that franchise owner up and running. But it's brand, brand identity, but it's also, just the overall ongoing support, training, and things like that. So franchising can be done nationally. It could be done regionally. So maybe you are on the East Coast, you're in New Jersey, and you just want to focus on the East Coast to start, or maybe the tri-state area, and then work your way across the country. There are different avenues. Franchising, some companies prefer that because it's a rapid way to expand throughout the country, taking on investments, and the franchisor benefits by those future royalty payments, that annuity that's being built. So, why doesn't everyone get into franchising? Well, it's a big time commitment. It's a big investment. You're talking about setting up a system. You're talking about setting up a team in place that are able to work with and figure out if certain individuals are good fits for the brand, and then train them and then offer that ongoing support. It's very expensive. The franchise disclosure document alone is expensive. Needs to be updated every year. Your financials need to be audited. So for someone that has a longer kind of time horizon, a franchise could be great. Licensing is going to be a little bit less involved. Obviously, you're not getting the big upfront investment. It's typically you're paying a flat licensing fee for the most part. It's another avenue. Or, people say, well, I own a restaurant. Instead of franchising, is it better just to own another, open up another 2 or 3 company owned? And that's fine as well. And sometimes, things change, right? It's you open up a restaurant, it's doing well, you open up another 2 or 3 company owned. So just say you have a total of 5, you got a really good proof of concept in order to franchise maybe later on. And that's a possibility. It really doesn't have to be all figured out. But what I will say from, working with other franchisors is that, as a franchisor, your role changes. You're really going to be a coach. You're going to be a mentor. You're going to be looking at ways of simplifying the process, working with certain vendors, taking advantage of economies of scale. So from one or 2 corporate locations to now 100 locations, how do we use our economies of scale to purchase raw goods, or for bookkeeping or marketing services and things like that, where we can get the cost as low as possible for the franchisees to be as efficient as possible, economical as possible, while expanding that reach. So there are many benefits. From the franchisee's perspective, one of the differentiators is the idea of culture, right? When you get into a franchise system, you're going to have, for the most part, a protected location or territory. And with that being said, you'll be able to work with, other franchisees, whether they be your neighbors or across the country, but you're able to work with them and really maybe work on marketing together. We had an instance where there were a few individuals in the restoration space, water and smoke restoration, where they were doing some work and they were light on staff, on technicians, and they were able to work with another franchisee, not too far away in the same state, in order to tackle a larger job. So there's definitely some benefits there, working together, marketing, technicians, mentorship. It just has an added layer of support. A lot of these franchisees are bringing different backgrounds, education, experience level. You have others that, have owned multiple businesses, and many franchisees have never owned the business. So that alone, bringing the various experiences, different industries, different backgrounds, really helps to bring some new ideas and different and creative ways of going about business. And I had a conversation with a family the other day, and they said, well, what about if I want to sell? And I said, well, it's very common for one franchisee in the area to buy out the other, just a simpler process, less costs and fees and things like that. So growing via franchising has plenty of benefits. But again, not everyone does it because some people may not want to expand. They want to maybe have full control of the business and just own company stores. And that's okay. You could do extremely well via that route. Franchising is one way to really break into all 50 states and do that, rather rapidly, while understanding that, it takes a little bit of time. You're taking a step back before moving forward to get those franchisees not only sold, but also and awarded, but actually open and up and running. And in something in brick and mortar, obviously that's going to extend the process, since you have the real estate versus something service-based where you're up and running in 60 to 90 days. So there are a lot of various options, and it's good to speak with a professional in that area. And Mark Siebert that I had on the show, they'll do a full analysis to kind of figure out what is the best route. So I always say, if you have any questions along those lines, give us a call. We can talk that through, and then, make the appropriate introductions, because there are, various companies that offer services in this space. So we'd love to help you out. Would love to, get into greater detail along those lines as far as expansion. But that's simply the way. And as from the franchisee, you're able to take advantage of a proven system and model and really run with it day one without having to kind of figure everything out and build everything from scratch. So change gears a little bit. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. Any questions, let me know. Thinking about franchising your business, give us a shout. You have the information. Thanks for the support. And again, if you benefited from the show, like the show, leave us a like, share this episode with someone that you may feel, even if it's one person that can benefit from the information from the show. And if you have a specific question that we haven't answered, let us know. We've revisited some previous shows and previous questions. Would love to revisit and address your questions or concerns. Thanks again, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.